Hi, friends. Today, we're going to talk about the Lamenters. Hey, ow, Hi, friends. It looks like I got arrested by the Inquisition, so I guess we'll talk about them instead. Also, this topic was chosen by the winner of a very special Christmas paint competition in my Discord. So, check out the Discord, and while you're at it, you might as well sign up for my Patreon too. But anyways, the Inquisition are the ever-inquisitive, all-powerful, sometimes insane branch of the Imperium dead set on ensuring the purity and loyalty of all Imperials. They're a core part of the setting, and they completely embody the paranoid and oppressive side of the Imperium. At the same time, within the Order, there are just so many different perspectives and personalities, it really makes for interesting stories. The Inquisition was founded long ago, right before the Siege of Terra, as things were their most dire. The Emperor ordered the Super Chad Malcador to find the most loyal, most skilled, and most inquisitive Imperials to form a secret order meant to sniff out and snuff out the most heinous threats to the Imperium, both through deadly force and knowledge. Along with this, Malcador also created the even more ultra super secretive chapter of Space Marines known as the Grey Knights. More on them in the future though. But anyways, after Malcador perished and the Emperor cosplayed a golden carrot, the Inquisition began to get more and more extreme. In order to effectively do their job, the Inquisition was given total autonomy, unlike most other Imperial factions, and they only have to answer to the Emperor himself. So, in the current setting, they basically do whatever they want as long as they think it'll benefit the Imperium and it's not too controversial with the other Inquisitors. The Inquisition's primary job is to investigate and perhaps destroy anything they suspect may pose a threat to the Imperium. Heresy's big or small, nothing is safe from the wrath of the Inquisition. Except for maybe silly funny commissars with imposter syndrome, perhaps. And the Inquisition's wrath is widely known and even more widely feared. Of course, to many, they're known as those insanos who blow up entire planets because the local burger emperor forgot their ranch dressing. And while there certainly are excessively cruel inquisitors and exterminatuses certainly do happen, the perception of the exterminatus happy inquisitor is pretty misguided. Exterminatuses are actually quite rare and considered a heavy and unfavorable decision since it's a huge waste of resources. Furthermore, many Inquisitors prefer to operate in a much more covert style than spamming Death Stars. Many Inquisitors do not show their hand until they absolutely have to. Remember, Inquisitors are investigators and researchers first and foremost. Many only whip out their mega weapons when they determine something is a valid threat. A lot of Inquisitors like to act incognito and will employ various disguises or alternate identities. For example, Amberly Vale of the Caiaphas Cain series likes to disguise herself as a beautiful babe in order to hide the fact that she's a beautiful babe who could have you and your entire planet turned into Cheeto dust if she deems you yucky enough. However, when they do find something a valid threat, they have near unlimited heretic annihilating potential. Since they're such a prestigious organization in the Imperium, they have access to nearly all of its resources, and they have enough influence and fear surrounding them that whatever they don't have access to, they can pretty easily requisition if they ask nicely enough. Or, I guess ask meanly enough, depending on the Inquisitor. These resources include, but are definitely not limited to, Space Marines, Planet Killers, illegal tech, over 80 million power in Rise of Kingdoms, Caiaphas Cain and his stinky friend, and basically anything else you could ever want for. But more on retinues later. First, we must discuss the Ordos of the Inquisition, or at least the important ones since there's basically one for anything and many of them are self-explanatory. Anyways though, there are three major Ordos, Malleus, Hereticus, and Xenos, also known as the Threat Beyond, the Threat Within, and the Threat Without, which just sounds sick as hell. The Ordo Malleus are the demon hunters of the Inquisition and specialize in combating the forces of chaos. They were the first Ordo created as chaos was and arguably still is the greatest threat to the Imperium. After defeating Horus, the Emperor officially established the Ordo Malleus to defend humanity from the forces of chaos while he sat on the sidelines for a little bit. The Inquisitors of Malleus often work alongside their Ordo Militant, the Grey Knights, and are even based on the moon of Saturn Titan alongside the Grey Knights. At first, they were a heavily guarded secret order since chaos itself was a secret, and you could kinda put two and two together if you knew an anti-chaos team existed, well, you know. However, over the years as the warp threats continue to grow, the Ordo is becoming more known as tales of their horrific might spreads across the galaxy. Next up, we have the Ordo Hereticus, which was actually the third major order to be founded, as it was made after the Age of Apostasy, but its alt name sounds a lot better second, and it effectively bridges the gap from Hereticus to Xenos. These are the witch hunters of the Imperium, and to the Ordo Hereticus, the greatest threat is the one that festers within. This is the biggest Ordo, and as their alt name suggests, they deal with threats within the Imperium. These include, but are not limited to, rebellions, unsanctioned mutants, rogue psychers, chaos corruption, normal corruption, and Xenos incursions. I think the last one kinda gets sidelined as Hereticus simply sounds more chaos coded, but Hereticus certainly does deal with things like gene stealer cults and Tau being gulp nice to people. Along with ensuring Imperials are properly loyal and devoted to the Imperial cult, a big job for Hereticus is to watch the Ecclesiarchy alongside the minor Ordo Sanctorum and ensure that no one is getting as corrupt as the infamous Goge Van Dyer. And since they keep a close eye on the Ecclesiarchy and love purging the heretic more than anything, their Ordo militant is the Sisters of Battle. Then finally, we have my favorite one, Ordo Xenos. And if you couldn't already tell, 1, you aren't near analytical enough to be an Inquisitor, and 2, you probably aren't even analytical enough to recognize that I just called you dumb, and 3, yes, of course the Ordo Xenos deals with the Xenos threat. This ordo was founded after the War of the Beast, when said beast waged war and nearly destroyed the entire Imperium. It was at this moment that the Imperium decided that the funky little aliens of the galaxy were actually a threat and not just some loser guys to kick around while they waited for chaos to show up. If only GW would also recognize this. The chamber militant of the Ordo Xenos is the Death Watch. So, of course, they often fight together, and Inquisitors can call upon the Watch's aid whenever they need it. This Ordo is also the best since it has Death Watch, Amberley Vale, and Eisenhorn. But with those Ordos covered, I need to remind you that the Inquisitors are not a hive mind, and within the organization, many Inquisitors have extremely different perspectives and methods of operation. Even within the same Ordos, Inquisitors can widely vary. That's why generalized statements like, Inquisitors are all completely callous exterminatus spammers, kind of fall flat. Yeah, many Inquisitors are some of the most evil dudes in the Imperium, but not all of them, and that would apply to basically any wide-sweeping perception of the Inquisition. You can't even really say that every Inquisitor wants to kill every Xeno, heretic, or witch. Once again, even within Ordos, it's not so clear-cut. Some Inquisitors take the inquisitive part of the job much more seriously and are researchers first and foremost. After all, a key function of the Inquisition upon its founding was learning and understanding the enemy in order to destroy them later. In other cases, Inquisitors might even act diplomatically with the enemy in order to prevent unnecessary conflict when there's more pressing matters at hand. To further demonstrate the myriad of ideologies, one large and perhaps the most pressing significant ideological difference within the Inquisition is the schism between the radical and the Puritan. And I thought we were talking about the Inquisition, not Twitter, am I right, boys? Come back next week for some more gripping political commentary. But deep and super original jokes aside, the Puritans of the Inquisition believe rules as written and hold imperial doctrines as complete fact. They allow no room for interpretation and are the most likely to do the meme thing of declaring anyone who looks funny a heretic. On the other hand, the radicals believe rules as intended and act on their interpretation of the Inquisition's purpose and the ideals of the Imperium. They believe that the ends justify the means and will use any means necessary to eradicate their foes. This means they often employ unorthodox tactics to combat threats to the Imperium. This willingness to bend the rules is technically allowed as the Inquisition has unrivaled freedom within the Imperium. However, it causes conflicts within the Inquisition as the Puritans disagree with the arguably heretical action of the radicals. But finally, let's talk about the funky fellas that Inquisitors can enlist into their funky friend groups. As I've said previously, the Inquisition can basically requisition any Imperial force to work for them. So, I'll only cover the notable ones here. If I miss anything, just assume that the Inquisition could probably work with them. Members of an inquisitorial retinue are called acolytes. Acolytes can be permanent members of a retinue or temporary tools at the Inquisitor's disposal. This is also how new Inquisitors are made, as particularly promising acolytes can be promoted into Inquisitors if his or her master finds them worthy and 3 other Inquisitors also approve. So, first off, the Inquisition can of course call upon Imperial Guard forces to aid them. Depending on the task, this can range anywhere from penal legionnaires to the endlessly awesome Kazarkin! Woo! They've also got their own Inquisitorial Stormtrooper force, but any Inquisitor with an ounce of cool would try to get some Kazarkin. If they're worthy of the Kazarkin's help, of course. Then, next up, we of course have their respective Ordo militants. That should be obvious. So obvious, in fact, it makes me endlessly annoyed that you can't take Deathwatch, or Grey Knights, or Sisters of Battle in the Inquisitorial Agents Kill team. Watch till the end for a mini rant and some of my silly ideas. But other than their own Marines, the Inquisition can also call upon other chapters to help them out if the need arises. And since it's not usually a good idea to say no to the guy with the planet killing button and the unlimited freedom to use it, most chapters heed the call. Inquisitors, especially those in Malleus or Hereticus, also like to have a Psyker or a Blank in their party in order to properly deal with enemy Psykers. Unless, of course, the Inquisitor is a Psyker themselves, which is actually quite common. Yeah, who would have thunk that reading minds might be useful for the nosiest investigators in the galaxy? Then, related to Psykers, we got one of the coolest, if not the coolest acolyte type, the Demon Hosts. These dudes are wicked cool and metal as hell. Long story short, they're demons bound to mortal bodies and commanded by the person who bound them as long as their willpower is strong enough to overcome the demon within. The idea of just having a demon-possessed corpse fighting your enemies for you is just super cool. Then, related to demons, we got Hierophants. No, not those ones. That would be kind of funny though. But no, Inquisitorial Hierophants are priests who guide the Inquisitor's prayers, exorcise demons, and probably have holy water super soakers. But jumping off the funny idea of an Inquisitorial Hierophant, the more radical of Inquisitors can also enlist the help of sanctioned Xenos. A Tyranid would never get sanctioned, but working with the Eldar Tau or maybe even a Necron isn't off the table. Also Orc mercenaries, but the Imperium is generally more racist to Orcs than the first three I mentioned. Even Ordo Xenos Inquisitors might work alongside Xenos. This may be for temporary diplomatic reasons, for research, or just because a particular Xeno dude is really good at killing a Xeno species you happen to hate even more than you hate the aforementioned Xeno dude. But to cap off this section, we have various killing machines, literally and figuratively. We got assassins, arcoflagellants, crusaders, desperados, gland warriors, etc., etc. Basically just a menagerie of insano killers. Like I said, their reach is expansive, and if you can think of it, they probably work with it. The Inquisition is a fascinating force in the world of 40k. They have one of the hardest quotes in the setting, maybe ever, and it really sums up the Inquisition as a faction. And it is a quote that I will now read. "My patience isn't limitless, unlike my authority." Ooh, such a simple line, but it's just so dang cool, especially since it's said during a rare moment of empathy in the 40k universe. Thank you, Mr. Eisenhorn. Jumping off of that, the autonomy of the Inquisition also makes for some really cool stories, as they aren't bound by any rules and the writer can just kinda go nuts. All in all, the Inquisition is one of the most integral parts of the 40k universe and are a really cool faction with a lot of creative freedom behind them. But let me know what you think about these funky fellas. What's your favorite Ordo? Or who's your favorite Inquisitor? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, thank you for watching, and thank you to the patrons who help feed me while I work on these wacky vids. Also, good work to Polaris for winning the Christmas Paint Comp. Be sure to check out my Discord for some more cool stuff. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe, and consider sharing to all your Inquisitorial acolytes. Thanks! Okay, the Inquisitorial Agents team could have so easily had the Sisters of Battle, Deathwatch, and Grey Knights, or at least one of them. They're essentially half teams anyway, so the existing compendium rules would have worked just fine. Sisters of Silence are cool, but Sisters of Battle would have been a bit more thematic and could have had the same exact profile minus the blank stuff. Plus, Grey Knights are even cooler demon hunters. Then, Silence are just completely useless when Kazarkin are a direct upgrade, so just axe them and add Deathwatch. Just do 3 Marines. It might be OP, but agents have been broken longer than my channel existed, so might as well be broken with cool Marines.